Not the emergence, but Jamaica dominating the male sprints, continuing to do well in the female sprints. In the period in which you competed, Jamaica was right up there with the United States in the female sprints. What accounted for that period where the woman, the Jamaican woman, yourself, Merlin Ottey, etc., would have been among the best in the world, and yet the Jamaican men only after Don Quarry's time, only recently have seemed to emerge as world beaters again?
My immediate answer is that's my thesis for my doctorate. But that's a very interesting question, because that really was the focus of my thesis when I did my sports management degree. During that period of time, and the research tells that we were continuously knocking on the door at that time, not just the females but the males. Merlin was the inspiration in 1980 when she got that first medal as a female for Jamaica. And she pretty much took us through a series of years where she was dominant. At the same time she was dominant, you had other males in the field that were also dominant, but not getting medals in the major championships. So you had Raymond Stewart that was always making a final. Right? You had Don Quarry, who in 1980 he was there. He competed 84 and he did not make the team for 88, but he was still competing up to 88. He was pretty much handing over to the younger ones. When you looked at the history of it, a number of the young men were actually making finals. Our 4x4, Jamaicans 4x4 team in every major championship during that period got a medal, whatever the color was. But the individuals were never able to. Some didn't even make the finals. The question for my thesis was, what was happening psychologically to our men? Why they would get there, they would be number one in the world outside of a championship, but they were not able to turn from being a finalist into a medalist. And when I answered, in the beginning when I said that for further studies, there had to be, in my own viewpoint, a whole psychological implication for that, because the people that were beating them were not necessarily better than them, because they would come out of the championships and they would beat those persons again. In a similar way in which Merlin Ottey would get third in a championships, and the very next meet she would beat everybody that she would have run against to get that third place. So my answer in short would be, I'm assuming it had some strong psychological influence about racing in a final, because there was no other obvious reasons why the men were not getting more than one medal, which was at that time the 4x4. If you look on the charts, if you were to create a chart and you looked at the medals that the women got between the World Championships and the Olympic Games, when Merlin Ottey started in 1980, the line went up. Don Quarry got a medal, and every year, every championships after that, the men only got one medal. So they stayed above ground, but they were pretty much, they might have gotten another medal here or there, 400 hurdles, long jump, but they wouldn't really exceed the 2 medals more or less. But they were always in finals. So they were knocking on the door, but they were not delivering. That's a long-winded way of answering the question.
Talk to us about your work at the University of the West Indies. I know you are focusing a bit too on the sides of the national topic. Just tell us a bit about that entire approach.
Well, I'm driven to develop a facility that really gives an athlete an opportunity to come through, develop, become a different person and then move on. I liken it onto the Manchester United and the Barcelonas, their kind of setup where they have a number of athletes, they breed athletes, soccer players. I know they buy and sell and come in there, but they have all the things that an athlete might need in terms of strong coaching, the effect of video playback, massage, medical therapy, nutrition, an understanding of where you want to go as an athlete, and testing to see whether you have the capabilities of reaching there. Because everybody wants to be a sprinter in Jamaica, but maybe everybody is not made up to be a sprinter. And if we can find ways of doing testing to be able to help to redirect persons in the right events, I think that Jamaica would be the best beneficiary of an improved performance at an international level. So ultimately, my major role in terms of development is to help build this stadium. And I have been given the opportunity to be able to put my ideas in them. And it is that I'm reaching out to the rest of the world, to those who would like to have an input in coming in and to help us to build this facility, to be able to build athletes to grow into being top athletes. And this is not restricted to just Jamaican athletes. I want persons from overseas to be part of this because, as I said earlier, I want everybody to be here so that everybody can be good, because I want us to be the best we can be at all times. When we are the best we can be, it makes athletics the best it can be. And so what that gives us is very strong competition, a drive to work harder, a drive to work smarter, and at the end of the day, when we win, we can truly say we are the best.
Now, internationally, universities figure a role in the development of sports and the athletes. It's not quite been the case in the region.
Yes.
And clearly you're trying to turn the tide where that's concerned.
I am.
What do you believe are the local and regional universities in addressing talent, developing talent, and sustaining our success?
I do believe, actually, in Jamaica we have the high school here, we are at the high school championships. When you really look at it realistically, it's really just about 1% of everybody that you see competing out there that really moves on to the senior level. And it's not necessarily the best of them that actually moves on to be the best. It does happen, and it's probably happening more. But I do believe that universities are the answer across the region to be the feeders to national teams. Universities has something that some clubs can't offer, and even national associations can't. They have a structure that will always be there, a structure that was there before and go on for years and years. And so if those universities can become the hosts for engaging athletes, as we are doing at the University of the West Indies. We're not only, I'm talking about the track of what we're doing, but when you look at the basic medical sciences, they are offering areas of medicine for which can assist the athletes, right? And so if the universities across the Caribbean, they themselves can start looking into that, they can be more engaging because they have the students, but they can have the elite athletes too that can come in and they can offer what I say, academic support, because when you choose to be an elite athlete early, which is what is happening now in the Caribbean, that when they run well as a junior, everybody wants to become a professional immediately. So what happens to them when something drastic happens, like a car accident, no fault of theirs, and they can run no more? Where do they stand? Do they get an opportunity to think about that? How can they continue to contribute? So I think that the universities have a role to play in helping these persons to develop and to know themselves, to know who they are, to know how far they can go, and if they can't go all the way, what are the other things they can do? What are the other opportunities? What are the support opportunities? Can they come back and become managers because they understand? Then can they study to be physios, massage therapists, understanding how to use the cameras to do video playback? So we need, you need all kinds of support systems, and who best is able to help but someone who has gone through a system.
Talked about those young athletes. How important do you think the championships are, the champs, as far as preparing those athletes for future success at the senior level? And how big, we're here right now, it's crazy. How important do you think this is leading towards Jamaican success at the senior level?
I often say, and I might be chided for saying it, that these championships that we have in Jamaica, which we all think is the best in the world, is their Olympic Games. And I say that because of what I said earlier. Only about 1% of them will make it. If you think about what a team can really manage, a team will have the most 3 persons in an individual event. When we are turning out so many persons, how many of them will really move on to the senior ranks and become that champion? It's limited in terms of what you can manage. Currently, we probably have the top 6 in the world in terms of 200 times. What are those? When they don't make the top 3, where do they go? What do they do? And so the championships is very, very important to us in Jamaica, and it's very important at a world level because they produce from that top junior athletes. Okay? How do we then funnel them into different directions so we have a larger catchment pool? Because our success at the senior level depends on a larger base. Right? The more you have to choose from, the better trials you will have. When you have 8 men that any one of them can make it, you will have fantastic times. You'll have a crowd in the stadium because nobody knows who is going to be making the team. The athletes themselves don't know. And so it is important that when this is over, there is somebody, and I say body meaning not an individual, but some group that is going to help to say, where do they go? Where do they go? We don't want them migrating to America and England and stuff like that has happened in the past. But those who feel that they tried for many years and they can't make the senior year, that senior team, that's what they do. So it is a tough job ahead of us, but it is a reality. It's really no different than what happens with basketball in America. The collegiate system, they have these wonderful Final Four and these wonderful basketball players, but how many of them can really make the pro? Football, the same thing. So it is similar to that, and so we just have to continue producing the way we produce, creating the opportunities that they can get a chance to continue to run not just here at home, but abroad as well.
How big has this meet gotten since you were competing?
It has grown significantly. When I was competing, the girls competed separately from the boys, and the stadium wasn't full. We ran, and even although we had good times and we had good performances, the interest wasn't as great for the girls as it was for the boys. But the tradition of the boys go way back. The 100 years, the 104 years that it has been happening, with the prime ministers that have run in this. High school is important in Jamaica. In the US, it's the colleges that everybody talk about. Wherever you meet a Jamaican anywhere in the world, they are bound to let you know what high school they went to. And so because of that, this whole tradition of what has happened in the past and who have been successful stays with us. And what's happening now with the records that you see being broken, the hype is getting more, the stadium is now too small. The one event for the year that really needs a bigger stadium, we have a long way to go, and it's a tradition that we love. It's like the pen relays that has grown. We love our tradition, and every year we come back for more, a greater appetite for more of what we see.
You are twice World Indoor medalist, so maybe it would be a weird question, but typically athletes that are based in Jamaica, they come to World Indoors without having competed much prior to that, and you don't have a selection meet, formal selection meet for that. Do you think that maybe Jamaica could have benefited from having actually a couple of indoor events or indoor trials or something like that?
Do we need it? I don't necessarily think so. The reason why we run indoors is because the weather is cold. Our advantage is that we always have hot weather. So do we need indoors? We don't need indoors because we can run in the rain. We have warm rain. We don't have snow. We don't have things that stop us from training or stop a meet. If we have rain and there's a meet going on and it rains, we continue our meet. So we don't really need indoor, but we like indoor. Yes, I competed indoors. I trained in New York. It was cold in New York. I knew what it was like to run indoors. And I went and I ran overseas. Shelley this year, as you noticed, competed as a Jamaican. She wasn't the first one because Nesta had done it before. I think Michael Frater had done it before as well. So we've had a number of Jamaicans that have done it from Jamaica. But they choose wisely. They choose the events that are easier to do, what they do in Jamaica. It's nice to have another title and it's good, but we don't have a need for that, and so therefore we concentrate on being the best that we can be in the outdoors.
But just in terms of a regular athletics fan, they want to see Usain Bolt competing, and if it's World Championships, if it's indoors or outdoors, they still want to see such big names competing.
Yes, they do, but maybe I think that there are other ways that he can contribute, and you know, most athletes don't want to wear themselves down. You say taking an opportunity to run indoors would be challenging. As somebody as tall as myself, in doing that, I understand the challenge of trying to run on a banked track to be able to get around. Maybe we'd be creating more opportunities for him to get hurt. Would we want that? I don't think so. So I would be happy to say, let us wait to see him run outdoors as opposed to trying to convince him to run indoors.
Talking about the World Relay Championships this year, are you really excited about that? And I know it just came out today, I think, that Usain Bolt's he has some kind of injury, so he probably won't be competing because he's not going to compete till June. But I mean, you still think Jamaica has a good chance at that 200 world record that they've talked about? And are you really excited for the first World Relays?
I think it's a good thing. I'm quite excited about it. If you notice that most major championships and almost every meet in Jamaica, whether it's a development meet or it's a major meet, it ends in relays. We are inspired by relays in Jamaica. Our athletes get a baton and they transform. They are different people. We just love running, particularly 4x4s, but we love running 4x1s, anything that has a baton in the hand. And so I think that as a people, we are looking forward to competing in the Bahamas at these relays. And I pray for a successful meet as well. For different reasons, because I think that if it is successful, it can continue to grow. But I think as a Caribbean, when we host an event like that and it is successful, it inspires the entire world, and we can show the world we are the smaller group of countries that want not only that we can host well, but when we host well, we can create the sort of, what I would say, excitement that the IWF, I'm sure, as the world governing body, is looking for. And we do it in relays all the time here in Jamaica, and that we will take. And I'm sure in the other countries, including Bahamas, this happened. So we will take that now collectively as a Caribbean. And the US is also loves relays and competitive with that. And so we can get that there. The rest of the world as well will join in. So as a region, I'm very happy about it. I hope, as I said, it will be successful so that we can continue to have. Usain's absence, we can still do world record times. I think we have seen where we have run very, very good time. Usain just pushes it a little bit further. We love to have him there because we kind of feel a little bit more confident that we know what's going to happen. But our athletes that run, particularly in the sprint relay, they run significantly faster on the relays than they do on the individual events.
Where's Jamaican athletics headed? You guys are right now unquestionably the #1 sprinting country in the world. How can you get better as an athletic team combined? Are you focusing more on distance running coming up, or the 4x4 is not as consistent as it used to be? Where are you guys headed in that regard?
I don't sit on the executive of the J3s any longer, but my vision for Jamaican athletics is to grow in the areas in which they've already wet their footing. We have gotten the top medal in the hurdles, we've gotten in the quarter hurdles, we've gotten a top medal in the sprint hurdles, we've gotten a top medal in the long jump for women, we've gotten a silver medal in long jump for men. At the junior level, we've gotten medals, top medals in the throws. And my vision is for Jamaica to move higher on the totem pole at the World Championships, actually to be #1. We need to nurture these events. We need to bring back the hurdles because it's fading a bit, but bring back the hurdles because we have excellent hurdles, both in male and female. Put the support behind that event, put the support behind the jumps, because we are knocking on the door like we have done in the sprints. Continue to support the sprints so that, I talked about earlier, the depth in the 200, we have the depth in the 100. We need to bring the 400 back on board. We need to improve on our 400. I do not see us at this point showing the talent in the middle distance. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it is genetically that we are not so disposed. But rather than be spending in the short, medium term the time trying to go for middle distance where we don't have a history of being able to turn that into something, work with the things that we have a history of making into something big. Getting more medals, if we were to touch all of those and get more medals, moving up to get gold medals, because gold medals is what wins championships. We could move ourselves, we've moved past Kenya now, right? We could move ourselves past the USA, right? Past Germany, past Russia, if we can tap into those areas, right? I don't personally think that it is middle distance that's going to do it. And it's okay for me to be able to give that up for now and work on the other areas, but setting the tone to say, do we have persons who are interested? Because for us to be able to be successful, the individuals who are doing these events have to have the desire to be able to do these events. Right? If they don't have the desire to put in 100 miles per week, it's not going to happen. Their competitors are. Right? We have, instinctively, we are sprinters, so we do well in that, and everybody wants to be a sprinter. To me, some of our 200 runners should be quarter milers. They would be excellent quarter milers. Right? But they have to come to terms with that, and then and maybe if they don't make the team 3 or 4 championships in a row and they get a little frustrated, then they might take up the decision to go to the quarter mile. So if we improve in the quarter mile, if we go back to where we were with the hurdles, remember Beijing? If we go back to where we were in the jumps, if we move from a junior level to a senior level in the throws, we got it made. Jamaica would be at the top of the medal standing at the World Championships.
And by extension, it's encouraging also, you think, with exploits of Walcott from Trinidad?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think in the past, a number of our Caribbean athletes just did not see themselves in the picture. In 1988, when 2008, I'm having memories of flashback. In 2008, when I was watching the championships, I was actually doing commentary. I had been monitoring what was happening in Europe with our Caribbean athletes. And I remember I saw this one little Trinidadian, and I noticed him in a number of the European meets, not winning, but positioning himself, whomever was in the race. And I saw it, and when I predicted that, I thought that he was going to be that dark horse, that if anybody slipped up, he would be there. It was because I saw it in Europe. I see from Barbados, I see they had hurdlers. Barbados have had top hurdlers. But they have to believe that it can happen. The individuals have to believe, and the association has to believe and give the support to those who believe in themselves. When they get the support to be able to go out and do, it can happen. The rest of the Caribbean can do just as good as Jamaica is doing. They might not have the depth in terms of numbers, but they can position themselves, which they are now doing. And as we see, 400, javelin, and we'll see it in the other events coming up. Hurdles really should be a better event that we're doing as a Caribbean people.